Rip. He, right now, is the top Australian cattle dog in the country. So he's only 2 years old, and he's a super fun show dog. He loves it. And
does
he likes showing more than he likes bath days.
Well, I was gonna ask, does he like the bath?
Yeah. We actually didn't even have a family dog growing up. I cried every night for a dog, and I'm not even exaggerating. Like every night I go to bed, I'd bawl my eyes out saying I want a dog. My mom said, we're not gonna get a dog. You're gonna think you want a dog, but then we're gonna get it, and you're not gonna wanna take care of it. They pee and poop, you're not gonna wanna do that. And I was like, no, mommy, I'll do everything, I promise. And the whole 9 yards. And then my brother, who's older than me, when he moved out, he got a dog, and then we stole that dog. and for my mother, that kind of worked out nicely because at first we were kind of borrowing it, and she could kind of get used to the idea, and then eventually he just became our dog. And that's the dog that I started taking to obedience classes and things like that. And the lady who was teaching obedience became my mentor and one of my closest friends, and basically, really got me hooked and started on everything. So I started in dogs when I was in competitive purebred dog sports when I was 14, and I started with obedience and agility. And so I just really always loved training and kind of that bond and connection that you get with a dog. And then I sort of moved on to handling, and I think I'd just be in the ring and people would sort of see me with a dog and kind of like how I trained a dog and like how I worked with a dog, and then would eventually start saying can you show my dog? And then, yeah, sure, I'd love that. And then after some time of that, I probably realized that enough people were asking me to do that, and I had learned enough that I could, probably start charging for my services, and then it just kind of grew over time. And it's sort of a niche market. There's only a handful of handlers in our area in the Maritimes.
So my parents had Dog de Bordeaux, which is a French Mastiff, and they aren't fully recognized by CKC. So I actually started in rare breeds. And they used to be held in conjunction with CKC shows. So it's basically a chance for those breeds to be kind of seen by other people, right, before they became fully registered and recognized. So I was showing dogs from when I was 3 at Rare Breeds, and we had interchangeable shows with CKC events. And then I would go and show my parents' dogs or help people, and I was just maybe 14, 13, and there were some handlers that came down to watch us. And then one of the handlers, Will Alexander, he's very well known in this industry, he asked my parents if it would be okay if maybe I wanted to go and help him for a few weekends in Ontario. And then I did my first weekend and I was kind of hooked. So I did that for a little bit and then traveled to the United States and worked under some amazing people, and I'm out on my own now.
Dog shows are a mix of people from all walks of life with every possible registered breed. They're also a mix of people bringing their own pet to show off and compete for top dog, and professional handlers, people making their living by showing dogs for others. And that's a culture unto itself.
There's multiple reasons people would hire a professional handler. So we have our owner handlers, which do very well. We have multiple dogs this year in top rankings. We have the working group, there's a #1 owner handled. Sporting group, #1 dog, owner handled. But there's a lot of people that can't make it to every show, right? Let's say you live in Nova Scotia and you want your dog to be in the rankings. Showing in Nova Scotia, you're not gonna be able to hold that ranking as much as you would maybe in other provinces.
So why do they want the ranking?
So breeding.
So I understand, because I understand it. Like
of course.
If I'm an owner handler, I'm doing it for fun. It's my sport, right? And it's like, if I get a top of breed or whatever, like that's cool.
Yeah.
But someone wants it for a different reason.
Different reasons.
They're hiring you.
Yep. So my parents per se, they breed Dog de Bordeaux, French Mastiffs. So they're gonna want to be, we're purposely purebred dogs, right? So they want to get championships on their dogs. They want clearances. Now, not you want to have a championship before you breed your dog, right? Now, not saying that those puppies can be more money. That's just ethical breeding. It's not just a marketing thing. Okay. It's like an ethical breeding thing. You want the judges' jobs here gender. And I think that's where it like gets a little confused, is the judges that are judging the dogs, it's not just a beauty pageant, it's their breeding stock, and they're evaluating our breed. There is a standard, and the representation of that standard, it's their job to choose the best one. So they should only be putting up dogs that are, you know, top of that standards.
A professional handler basically takes the lead and exudes the confidence down the lead so the dog doesn't react, where the owner will show that nervousness and the dog will start to react to the owner's senses.
On groom days, Caitlin normally takes a dog, she bathes them, she dries them, she does a fabulous job. With show dogs, there's kind of a system with bathing and drying that is a little different from pet dogs. Every breed is supposed to be groomed a certain way, and really, for the shows, 90% of the work is done before you even get to the show.
Something that I notice at these shows is you're always in a different outfit. Like with every dog, you're in a different outfit.
Well, yes, it's fashion.
Yeah. But I mean, how important is that to it? Like,
well, so at the show, you're expected to, as a professional handler, you're expected to basically dress in business attire or business casual, right? And so for women, it's often kind of skirt suits or, you know, skirts and a nice top, or, which is a little funny considering that, you know, we're running around with dogs.
It is a little funny. It does look a little funny.
Right, yes, and a lot of our shows are outdoors. We can be showing in torrential rain, lots of mud, and so I don't stay clean for very long at some shows. So I'll have to come, you know, pack multiple outfits to make sure that if I get really muddy or lots of paw prints, yeah, that I can change into a different outfit. I laugh because when I go and buy shoes for showing and I'm in a shoe store, I'll put the shoes on and I'll kind of stand in them, but then I'll kind of do like my fake like dog show run, and I have people looking at me, but like I need to know exactly, but I need to know that, you know, they have good traction on the bottom, that they're, you know, have good support. I'm not going to lose them because, you know, these are flats, so sometimes you can run in them and they might just fall off, right? So I need to know that they're, you know, comfortable, functional, and yeah, and you know, I don't think they're generally made for running, but that's how we use them.
how many pairs of shoes do you have for the dog?
Way too many.
Does it just become first come, first serve, or do you actually have things you look for and go, that's a good match for me?
Yeah, so yes, definitely I want to know that the dog is show quality, right? So every breed has a written breed standard of what this, you know, the particular dog is supposed to look like, and it's because every breed had a certain job that they were supposed to do. So these standards are written in a way that explains how the dog should look so it could best perform its job. And so I will, you know, a lot of the standards that I do know quite well, and if I don't know them quite well, I will sit down and read them and make sure that the dog that I'm going to be evaluating, I will have, you know, a good idea of what it's supposed to look like. And then the owner will bring it out, I'll take a look at it and, you know, kind of get an idea of how competitive I think it will be in the show ring. Can I win with it? Can I finish it easily? Is it a, you know, specials material, which means like, should this dog be showed a lot over the year and campaigned, potentially be the best in its breed, things like that. And we'll kind of have the discussion of what expectations are, right? And then if I think I can meet those expectations, then, you know, it will become, you know, part of the lineup, right?
They're not your dogs.
They are not my dog, but these technically are. Like,
well, I guess, yeah.
My Whippet, she's been with me since January. She'll leave in December.
Well, that's what I was wondering. Like,
yeah.
How much time, if any, do they spend with you?
So every waking day, pretty much. So we have dogs that come and go. They'll come for their weekends, but most of the campaign dogs. Now, campaigning is kind of like someone hires you and they want you to make their dog top priority, be number one in their breed, and be in the rankings. Some dogs just come to finish, and other dogs, they'll just come for like local shows like this. They're just gonna stick with you in Nova Scotia. They won't travel with you anywhere else. Their owners drop them off every weekend. But we do have some dogs that live with us full time for the year.
I would think it would be very difficult to show a dog that wasn't your own because you wouldn't know the personality or the quirks, but how do you get to know those things?
Believe it or not, you start to learn little nuances. as your career goes on, the more dogs you deal with, so on and so forth, you pick up on things. You learn how to make the dog comfortable in its own skin, and you learn how to present that dog in its own skin so that it's comfortable and it shows itself off. Really, we're just holding the lead.
Sometimes we're lucky enough to have dogs that will travel with us to shows, so their owners might drop them off on a Friday and they'll come with us for the weekend. You really get a sense of them when they're kind of with you full time. Other times they just come visit on weekends. We get time to practice with them ahead of time, but then it's just kind of trial by fire, and you figure it out as you go along, what buttons to push, what they like, what they don't like, and just try to bring out all the good things.
All the good things.
All the good things. Keep the bad things, outside the ring.
So how much do you get to practice with them? Like, or is this
lot.
like, here's my dog, please go walk around the ring?
Sometimes. Some owners are really great and they'll travel to come visit with us.
So, a top dog in the country would be a weekend after weekend, often flying from coast to coast to try to get in as many shows. Yeah, a very commitment, expense, a lot of work, a lot of love.
So someone that's asking you to do that, obviously you wouldn't be able to do that for too many dogs because the time.
No,
involved,
you kind of have to make your priority, figure out who your priority is. And that's what, so handlers will kind of have like a campaign lineup, and they'll sort of know who their priorities are, so which dog they would generally stay on to try to win at certain shows. And sometimes they just might decide, like, if they know a certain judge, or they think, nobody really knows for sure.
But I know people kind of try
right.
to
They think that, like, exactly. So they'll try to be like, I think this judge may like this dog better than this dog, and then they would try to, stay on that dog to win with that dog, essentially, right?
You have shown in some of the big places too.
Yes, anywhere from Royal Canin, which is the big show in December, down in Florida, and I've shown at Westminster a couple times, and all over Ontario, well, to Alberta, anywhere, Texas, Tennessee.
You go somewhere like Westminster, do you spend much time with the dog before you show up at Westminster?
Yes.
And so you get to know the dog?
Yes. I mean, these shows here, there's a little bit less pressure just because it's just fun shows. I mean, you get points at CKC sanction, but it's not like heavily televised like Westminster or they would be. So we can usually, as long as the dog's got a good temperament, you can usually get along with them pretty easily, like 5-10 minutes before the show. But
oh, wow.
Other than that, we try to get bonds with them. And the more they know you, the more apt they are to give you their full enthusiasm in the ring. And that's always the best thing.
You have to have a great relationship with your client and very open and honest discussions about what everybody expects, like, my expectations, their expectations, and how we're going to meet these expectations, because...
And they still might lose.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or at least not come first, right?
I tell people all the time, I've given up trying to predict how dog shows are going to go. I can give an opinion, but I'm not the one who points to the dog, right? I'm the one who shows them. But at the end of the day, it's not my decision who wins.
I actually started out, I did a co-op program in my high school at a veterinary clinic, and then I ended up liking it so much that they hired me on as a kennel attendant. Then I just kind of slowly picked on more responsibilities until I was eventually grandfathered into vet assistant.
Okay.
And then from there, I bounced around a little bit. I worked at a doggy daycare, which is when I first started bathing and doing nails, and found out that I really liked it, so I went for my grooming course. And then I got a job. I was an independent contractor, so I was like technically grooming for just for myself for about a year. So
there you go. And you like it?
I love it. Yeah, I'm very, very grateful that she.
Do you like animals?
I love them. They're my whole life.
Since summer, Bonnie has had help from Caitlin getting dogs ready for the show. Now you might wonder what life is like as a professional handler. Caitlin has gone along to some recent shows, and let's just say that experience was eye-opening.
Like, I remember like the first night, we were like all going to bed, and I was like, so what time are you like setting your alarm for? And she was like, probably like 4:30. I was like, oh, okay. Sure.
Nothing like warning you
Still the
before
day
you're on the road.
before.
But I was still, I mean, like, I was ready to go, like, 4:30. It took me a minute to, like, the first day. But after, like, the third day, I think that I was doing, like, pretty okay.
I always try to let you know, that's the biggest thing about showing is like setting the expectation with people who want to do this, that it's, you know, I mean, obviously if you are an owner handler and you go and you show up with your, you know, your own dog, the schedule is much different. But for a professional, when we're taking care of, you know, 10 to 15 dogs on the road, we're up very early. They all need to be fed, exercised, they all, you know, so the day starts early, and then they all need to be groomed at the show and get ready. And then the day doesn't end when the show ends at 5. We still have to do supper, take care of all the dogs until bedtime. So, you know, it's very long days during those weekends. Some people think that professionals have an advantage over amateurs. A lot of professionals think that, you know, a owner handled dog actually has the advantage because they can go there to the dog show with their one dog and they have all day to get it ready. They've had all this time to train it and they live with the dog. They know everything about the dog. So, you know, that's a really nice thing. Whereas when I'm going to a show and I have 10 or 15 dogs to get ready, I have a lot less time for those particular dogs to be ready for the ring than, you know, say somebody going with just one dog, right? Some of the best show dogs out there are amazing show dogs, and they're out there and they love it and they give you 110%. But probably some of the most structurally well put together and beautiful dogs are probably just sitting in somebody's backyard.
So when did you start showing, Regan?
Well, so I was in Pee-wee when I was 2.
What? When you were 2? So that's a little bit younger than your mother started.
Yes, she took her Bernice in when she was 2. It was very adorable.
And then I had a huge gap that I did not show. And then
So,
I started showing again.
Are Bernice your favorite?
No,
Okay, what's your favorite?
bulldogs,
Bulldogs. That's interesting. Why bulldogs?
because they're cute.
All right.
We have another assistant that comes on the road with us, and she breeds bulldogs and has bulldogs. And Regan has really taken to them. And she's been wonderful because she's been letting Regan use the dogs in juniors, or even sometimes the regular shows. She'll let her take them in. Regan helps to walk them and take them to the washroom. She helps to groom them, so she's really enjoying it. The biggest thing that I have an issue with is that the handlers or juniors that just want to go into the ring. They just want to go in and show the dogs for 2 minutes and then they're done. There's so much, so Regan is expected to be training her dog at home and grooming him. So when it's bath day, she's been bathing him and blow drying him. I do the trimming because the scissors are very sharp.
And you don't want to make a mistake.
That's why I wouldn't care about that. But you know, other than that, she really has to put the time and effort into her own dog if she wants to be able to go in there and show him. And that also means that she, you know, needs to walk him and take him, you know, exercise him at shows, take him to the washroom. She has to work with him at the show as well. She has to pick out her outfits and be ready to go, you know, be ready for ring times. And, you know, there's a lot to it. That's just so much more than going in, showing the dog, and leaving.
For the most part, I feel like this job isn't an easy job, but if you love what you're doing, it's easy.
It's rewarding.
It's rewarding, very rewarding.
Any dog is fun to show. It's been great. So it's
what
nice
is
to
fun
do the
about
show.
it? You say fun, so
What's fun about it? I think it's being able to bring out the good qualities of that dog, right? Owners are sometimes really nervous about going in on their own. They're so busy thinking about the procedure and worried about all the things, whereas my friend and I that handle that, it's comfortable for us. It's routine. We're used to that with other dogs. So the routine is always the same, but getting to bring out that personality of the dog, and especially when you do something great with their dog and you get to give the owner the ribbons, or their dog gets a championship and it's their first time, they're so excited. It really is. It's great.
The other side, so that's easier.
So what do your parents think now?
Well, they think I have a lot of dogs around.
Well, you certainly made up for it, didn't you?
That's it. I was like, I told you I wanted a dog. They are proud that I am doing what I'm doing very successfully, so that's great. My mother would probably like me traveling a little less because it does require a lot of time and hours on the road. I think now that Regan's been coming to some shows, that's making her a little happier because, you know, it's hard to be away from young kids.
Yeah,
and actually I took quite a bit.
And your kids are young.
They are, yeah. So we have a 5-year-old, a 7-year-old, and a 9-year-old. And I actually took probably about, 8 years off of showing when we had our children. So I would kind of come do a couple of shows here and there, but not to the extent that I had been doing before children and that I'm doing now. So I've done Westminster, which I love. Yeah. We'll go back. I've been to Crufts, which is a big show in England.
So you've hit the two that everybody always mentions.
Exactly. And I didn't show at Crufts. I just wanted to go and take it all in. There's a show in the States every year called PCA, so it's Poodle Club of America. And although I don't groom and condition poodles, it's just supposed to be like, you're just supposed to see the most beautiful poodles exhibit. And then it has standards, minis, and toys. So it has all 3 varieties, and you're just gonna see the best of the best. And it's supposed to be just a really amazing experience. And that's probably on my list of shows that I would love to go to. Yeah, even though I'm not a poodle person. I know, it's the left field, right? Really? Because I can really appreciate the work and time and dedication that it goes into maintaining a poodle, and they're a tremendous amount of love and passion and expertise that goes into that breed. So
it is a sport, and it's a lot of fun, but it's definitely yeah.
Well, I tell people when they're trying to understand sort of what this involves, I'm like, we are conditioning little canine athletes, right? Yeah. So, they have to be physically healthy, but they also have to be mentally healthy. So, we need to make sure that they're well exercised and conditioned to do their job, but they also, they have to be sound of mind. We have to make sure that all of their mental needs are taken care of, so they do want to go out and perform every weekend, because weekend after weekend after weekend of running in circles can get a little boring. So we have to make sure we're doing our jobs and making it fun and exciting and something that they want to do. And then have the endurance to do it. So they can't just come home and be slugs during the week. There is exercise that's required, there's training that's required so that they are physically able to do the shows on the weekend and, truck around that ring,
There's a lot of work for a few seconds in the ring.
For sure, exactly, yeah.
Because you really aren't in the ring that long.
You're not in the ring that long, and their coats have to be maintained and cared for. And so, like I said, these dogs are getting weekly baths, weekly work for their hair. They even get more conditioning and oil treatments than I do. Their hair is in better shape than mine, but, that's more important.
But you have more shoes.
Yeah, I have more shoes than the dogs, yes.